My name is Dennis Burns. I have been a Mason for about 6 years. I'm junior warden for Dallas 760 in Dallas, Texas. Yes, Upon the Point is my company. I started that, I'm in my 3rd year now. Just as a result of my association and going to Grand Lodges and going to other events and seeing what was available, and quite frankly seeing that a lot of the stuff that I saw was all looking the same. And I decided that I was going to see what I could do about changing it up a little bit. My first pin was a square checkerboard with a square and compass in the middle and a gold rope around the edge. The favorite pin that I've created is probably my best seller. It's the one that looks much like the Star Trek communicator badge. We've done very well with that, and I was quite surprised to find out that I'm not the only Star Trek fan out there. I do know that that particular pin, and I'll use that one because it's sold the most, I've sold in over 31 states and 13 countries, the last of which was Serbia. I make challenge coins. As with everything that I do, I wait for an inspiration. Something simple that just pops into my head and then my mind just goes crazy with it. The first challenge coin I did, for instance, I did while sitting in church with my wife. I was daydreaming. The preacher said something about every knee shall bow. I remembered a graphic that I'd seen on the internet and knew that I could take something like that and create a challenge coin. So by the time we got home, I had it already designed and I just put it down on paper. And I gave the first coin to the preacher. I said, "Those times that you think I'm not listening, there you go." Great question. Like I said, whenever I'm doing a pin or a coin, I wait to be inspired. Now, in the case of the Marine Corps one, that started with a coin that I did, the Ton Tavern coin. On one side of it, I have a bas-relief of a Ton Tavern. That was actually done by purchasing on eBay a replica of the Ton Tavern and having my artist take an HD picture of it, and then they were able to convert that into the coin. I found out in my research, of course I knew that Ton Tavern was the birthplace of the Marine Corps, but I didn't know that Ton Tavern also housed the first Masonic Lodge here in the United States, St. John's No. 1. I do understand that there are people that have a different opinion, but from everything I read, that stands. So on the flip side of that, because of that relationship between the Marine Corps' birthplace and the Masonic Lodge, it stands to reason that the first Marines were probably Masons. And so the Marine Corps' motto being "a few good men," and ours, of course, being "making good men better," the pin and that face of the coin simply says "a few good men made better." Yes, the Army pin was the last of the military pins. Let me back up. It wasn't the last. I still haven't done the Coast Guard. But the most recent one that I have done is the Army. And it took me forever because the Army's logo is a star. What can you do with a star that hasn't been done to death? So I just had an idea and worked with it, showed it to a few guys who were Army vets, and they liked it, so I went with it. The Navy pin that I have is interesting in that I used the anchor for the square, the curved anchor, and for the compasses I used the dividers that they used to use for charting courses and things, and it turned out very nice. It's I think an elegant pin. The one that I like the most though, and this is hard coming from a Marine, my favorite one is the Air Force pin. It is simple, sharp, and it looks like a stealth fighter. I haven't a clue. Honestly, I've tossed around some ideas in my head, and they are so close to the Navy that there has to be something that differentiates them, but I don't know what that's going to be. So you'll know when I do. Certainly, my website is www.uponthepoint.com. I chose that name because I figured most Masons wouldn't forget it. As far as what I'm scheduled to do, currently I only attend 2 different Grand Lodges, that of Texas and Oklahoma. I have been invited to go to Florida and to go to Arizona, but I've not yet made that decision. There are others that I'm aware of that have a lot of vendors that show up, but I've not looked into it very much. As far as getting the pins, everything that I sell is on my website, and $6 ships any and all. You can buy my whole store and $6 will ship it anywhere within the United States. Well, the whole idea behind starting my company is I worked with a guy off and on for about 20 years, and in that 20 years, he never mentioned his affiliation with Masonry. He didn't wear a ring, he didn't wear lapel pins, he didn't have anything on his car. I didn't know he was a Mason until I became a Mason, and I called him and I said, "Hey Joe, guess what I just did?" And he said, "Well, it's about damn time." I had no clue. So in my business, there's a Bible verse that refers to not hiding your light under a bushel. You're probably familiar with it, and that's why I do this. The coins, the pins, everything that I make is meant to start a conversation. It can be provocative in some cases. Some of my designs aren't for everybody. Some of them simply allude to the square and compass, because if you recall your history, many times in the past, Masons have had to obscure the square and compass to survive. World War II Germany being a classic example. But there are other things that I've done that I've created parodies of other items, other well-known things, such as that. It's obviously built after the Star Trek communicator, but it's a parody. I've added the square and a G. It made itself, and Gene Roddenberry being a Mason made sense. But those are the kind of things that I do, and the tagline for my company is "Not your grandfather's pins," and it's pretty obvious if you look at what I have. You wouldn't have seen somebody wearing something like this 40, 50 years ago.